Yes, that was a commission from the Desai family in Ghana, and it was a great honour because Marcel had never been sculpted before and had never been placed sculpturally in a public place in Africa, despite the fact that he was such a famous footballer. So that was a great honour, and it was great fun as well. As he said the other night, it's not all work, we have fun and games as well, and Marcel was great to work with. But of course I sculpted from photographs that the family provided, and so I had to choose what age, what pose, and I went for a younger version, more like he was in his early footballing years. Like some of us, he has filled out a little bit since then, and that's not what I went for, so yeah. Mike Tyson was such fun to sculpt. I captured a good resemblance immediately. He just emerged from the clay, and I was almost laughing as I sculpted him because everything I did that day, either my sculpting skills were at a peak, or Mike was just the perfect subject maybe for my skills. So that was great. And then I added in the boxing glove to identify him, and yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Balotelli. Who doesn't have an opinion on Balotelli? Lots of them negative, but for me, he's the greatest. I mean, I really feel sorry, I have sympathy for him because he grew up as the only black kid in a village in Italy, and it can't have been easy, and they're separated from his Ghanaian family. So I like him. I know he's a little bit crazy and behaves badly sometimes, but I think we all need a little bit of craziness, and he's entertaining. I just hope he manages to fulfill the potential that he has.
Such a powerful piece.
Freedom is not a joke. Freedom is the most serious piece in the exhibition, because nothing is more abhorrent to me than slavery. And of course it occurs today in various forms as well, sex slavery, cheap labour and so on. But I tried to, rather than calling the piece slavery, I called it freedom, because I wanted to emphasize that for many of us, the key is within our reach. And may not even have a lock on our chains. So it's optimistic, and that's what we need in life. So yeah, I love it though. Yeah, I like to find powerful themes. I sculpted that from a Nigerian model in the studio, a friend named Matthew, and his pose was something completely different, but I just saw the opportunity to do something dramatic. So when he wasn't sculpting for everybody else, I got him to put his hands up like that, as if hearing the Lord calling on him, and he fell off his horse. And it's at the moment it's in black terracotta, but I do plan to get it cast in bronze, because I think it's a good piece. Oh, the male torso. The male torso, again, it's Matthew actually. And Matthew is a very gentle model despite having such an enormous physique. And he actually has a speech impediment. So he has a difficulty expressing himself. And I think he expresses himself by modeling. So rather than doing the full figure, I thought that for Matthew, the torso expresses as much about Matthew as a portrait would for somebody else. I have actually done his portrait as well. But yes, I've had it in terracotta for years in my flat, and then just recently, before the exhibition, decided this has to be cast in bronze. And I'm so glad we did. And then polished it to produce highlights, which made it even more dramatic.
Right, very nice.
Jiman Hamsu is one of the most beautiful black people in the world. He models professionally for Calvin Klein and Theory, what's his name? Anyway, and he has acted brilliantly, I thought, in Amistad and Blood Diamond, and of course Gladiator is where he came to the public interest, really. Wonderful guy. My friend Richard has met him recently, and they hit it off, and it was great interest in the sculpture. But yes, I chose to sculpt him younger than he is at the moment because, well, I just wanted to get him at the start of his career. But he's a great guy, and hopefully has a serious acting future ahead of him. Twelve Apostles was my breakthrough piece. It won a competition organised by the Victoria and Albert Museum, and then was exhibited there for a few months. Actually, at that time, the heads were in terracotta on wood, and it wasn't modelled specifically on one person, but it was loosely modelled on Delano, who was also in the exhibition as a seated figure. Delano was an African-American dancer and very gentle, mellow person. So I just did variations of his head, really, because that seemed a good way to do it. Yes, I like it. And then more recently, when I had a bit of cash in the bank, I splashed out and got it cast in bronze, which was not cheap, but glad I did it. Scottsboro Boys, for some reason I get hooked on these injustices, and they provide inspiration for me. And I read about the Scottsboro Boys years ago, 9 kids who were accused of rape completely unjustly, and their trials and tribulations lasted from 1931 to 2013. So it was their lives were totally ruined by the false accusations. And there was a Jewish lawyer who really devoted a lot of his life to trying to get them their rightful freedom. I saw it recently as a musical in London, and I thought, how on earth can you do a musical of such a horrible event? And it didn't appeal to me, and it was rattling around in my head for a long time, and then it was almost painted in my head before I got to work on it, and it is my most recent painting. And I also imply that there was a background of Ku Klux Klan activity just to capture the era. But I'm interested in it because I've never painted anything like that before, and I'm hopeful that it's going to open up the courage to paint similar themes in the future. Trinity is an old theme of mine. I've done several versions of the Trinity. I've never seen anybody else do it in that style, so it is my own. Of course, it's in a triptych format again, seems to be my thing. And this particular one is owned by a friend of mine who loaned it for the exhibition. But I have other versions. One recently was sold to a church in Sweden, so I'm glad to see that it's acceptable to the church. I mean, I don't mean to ever, as a Christian, I don't want to do anything that's offensive or distasteful, especially representing something as powerful as the Trinity. So I like it. End of the Rainbow I did years ago. I'm not quite sure. I think it was 23 or 4, and I was during what I might call my Jackson Pollock phase. I was just splashing the paint with a brush and walking around the canvas with all the colours of the rainbow. And then recently I began to look on it. Sometimes it happens that later you see another meaning. So maybe as I become more political, I saw it as a metaphor for the death of the so-called Rainbow Coalition in America that Jesse Jackson preached about. And I think he was overly optimistic. I think recent events has shown us that there is no Rainbow Coalition in America. It's horrible. Footprints also dates back to the 10 years at least ago when I was trying to find a way to express myself. So that's rather an infantile way of expressing myself, perhaps by painting paint on the soles of my feet and walking across the canvases. But then I realized I was creating all of these beautiful patterns and it was like, I don't know, fish underwater or whatever you wanted to mean. But it also matched up with a beautiful poem called Footprint about being followed by, I think one's angel, guardian angel, and then sometimes their footprints are not visible, and that's because you're being carried on their shoulders. So yeah, it can be looked on simplistically, or it can be looked on as something more religious.